All right, I'll see you guys on Insta.
Yo,
Yo, Blake, what's up, man?
how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good, dude.
Happy release day for the
Happy
both
release
of us,
day
I guess.
to you.
Yeah, what you up to today?
Just doing posts. Went to the gym. Getting ready for this evening's festivities.
What you got coming into the evening?
I'm gonna go see Incubus. They're here in town.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
So
it sounds like a lot of fun.
yeah,
I'm just hanging out today, posting and the normal release day stuff, as you know.
nice.
Yeah. Um, well, thank you for having me on the remix. That's an awesome opportunity. I think you saw my like story time video.
Yeah, dude, I loved it, man. That was just warm feelings all around. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I thought that was
it's
a
such
moment.
an interesting like full circle moment, because it's like I think that your beatboxing stuff on American Idol really inspired me to get into that world, which in a way inspired my YouTube channel, and then that enabled me to meet Kevin. So
Right.
then it's like for you and Kevin to have connected in that way, and then to for me to work on a remix of that is such an interesting full circle thing. And then you throw Matt Lang in the mix too, and it's like small world.
Yeah, and totally crazy. I know. I know. Like you guys playing the same show, us meeting for the first time, and then hearing that story. That's crazy. I'm like, damn, why didn't you tell me like that night we could have like ciphered and beatboxed, you know?
Yeah, I don't do it much anymore, but I was really into it back in middle school, middle school, high school.
I love it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Cool. What
yeah,
what's the plan? Like have you been working on other tunes or like what are you gearing up for
definitely.
now that today is besides glowing in the celebratory of releasing a new track, you know.
Yeah, as there's always like the weight of getting one release out of the way before you can really focus on the next one. So this release day is always a weight off your shoulders of like, okay, it's finally done. There's going to be some posts about it in the next week or so, but then it's going to be like out of my hair and I can move on to the next project. So I have a few more songs coming up in the near future. I think the next one's probably like in April or May. So yeah. What about you?
I mean, just kind of the same thing, you know. Today, Kevin's out with Pendulum. He's at Ultra right now, you know,
Crazy.
in the
Yeah.
last slot tonight. Um, so he gets back next week. We work like 3 days a week, you know,
Cool.
trying to make this project happen. So, um,
So has the private language become like your primary focus, like the main project for you guys, or is it like
yeah, for right now, for sure, because the pandemic. I mean, we most of these tunes we started prior to the pandemic. You know, we worked
right?
for a year together on all, like, we have a whole album done. So we're just like, you know, the pandemics, you know, we tried working like 1 day a week. It was just really tough, you know, doing like sessions over, you know, over this, like in, and, because we work really, really well and really fast together in the studio.
Yeah.
Um, I'm Mr. Bossy Pants. You know, I'm like, because I play all the keys
Right.
and all of these songs kind of started with me using his sample library. I mean, he's got such an extensive sample library.
Totally. Yeah.
We've been playing together for like 20 years, so I personally have stuff that we've worked on, and we're always pulling from that stuff. But
I
the
was gonna ask you, how did you guys initially connect? Because that's such a like an interesting story, I think.
Hey, Shila's in here. Kevin and I connected in Seattle. I heard his name for like 2 years. I was known as B Shorty, and I did like a one-man loop show with all my
Cool.
beatbox. And I was like the host of all the big raves. That's how I know everyone in the electronic industry because I opened for them, or I, uh, you know, helped them out during a set, like or
Yeah.
something. Like I was like the right hand guy at the raves and at these clubs in Seattle. And so I heard Kevin's name because I was going around town doing my own thing, and he was going around town doing his own thing as a drummer. and so many people. And it was actually his girlfriend at the time was like, "You," because I met her. Was like, "Oh, you got to meet my boyfriend. His name's KJ Sawka." And I was like, "I've heard his name for years." Like,
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to think of her name right now. It's I'm drawing a blank, but we've gone out to dinner like several times.
oh well, this is 20 years ago. This is a different girl.
Different girl.
Is
Okay.
not
Cool.
Corey.
Yeah. Got you, Corey. Yeah.
So yeah, so finally we ended up connecting. I think he was playing a set somewhere. Maybe it was the Rainbow or the Jet Deck.
Yeah.
And I just jumped on stage with him, and and then the next week I went to his studio, and we did like a 20-minute freestyle, and kind of like one of them was like really dope, and then we just started jamming together and writing together, and then ended up having our own show. I was like, let's have our own, like, let's do this, but in front of people. And Reggie Watts came out, and
Cool.
just a bunch of Seattle, like, amazing artists, upright bass. Joe Doria is this legendary, like, Hammond B3 player. We play with him.
Yeah.
And then MCs and, like, drum and bass DJs. And it was just like a cool, like, mixture of a night. And that's
Right.
where he and I, like, it went from jamming to in the studio. And so now we're trying to find our sound. Like, can we jam still? Like, cause we haven't played a show yet, and we were supposed to, and we rehearsed for like a month straight, and then the show got canceled.
Yeah.
So the COVID that. So
Right. Yeah. I think I met Kevin. He was still living in Seattle because he had moved to LA briefly, right?
he was in LA for 2 years, and
Right.
I went on tour at the beginning of 2020. I moved out of my place, and then COVID happened, and his lease was up right the first month.
Right.
And I had already been peppering, like, I was probably going to move to Vegas at some point, like within a year.
So you're out there, right? You're out there as well.
Yeah, so he actually got here before me because I went back to Seattle because my best friend had a liver transplant, and then
Gotcha.
I was like waiting, like, when are things? As soon as things started opening up just a tiny bit, I was like, okay, I'm out. And
yeah, I met him. Well, actually, we connected on like the YouTube front. So like we're both pretty big in that YouTube Ableton educational space.
Yeah.
And I had connected with him via Mr. Bill, if you know Mr. Bill.
yeah, I love his production.
Bill and I connected on a YouTube project a few years ago. I think it was 2015 or something. So it lands him like squarely like right before he moved. So he was in Seattle. We did that YouTube collaboration. It was like some of the biggest YouTubers on the platform doing Ableton stuff, all doing a song together. And then from there, it's just we've been friends for a while. But I think the first time I met him in real life, he had come down to LA from Seattle. So that rings a bell. Then I remember he was living out here for a few years with, I think, Matt Meadow. Have you ever met him?
Yep.
The EDM, your EDM guy, I think, right?
Yeah. I think.
Yeah.
Thing. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Him and Cash Bunny and Rosanna. It was like a house full of just like for creatives, and then a journalist.
Right. Yeah. I always meant to get over there to like visit, but I never got the chance to. I was always like doing something else because it was such a short period that they lived there.
For sure. Where are you at?
I'm in downtown LA. So.
Okay. Nice. Yeah.
Pretty close to
I
LA.
love the Henson you got going behind you too.
Oh yeah, it's Kermit the Frog Henson, like the Apple poster from '98 or whatever.
Nice, yeah, I love it.
Think different, yeah.
I'm a big.
I also got the old Beatles right there. I don't know if you can see that.
Ooh, nice.
Okay. Yeah, from the White Album era. I'm a bit of a vintage like art collector, so.
I love that. Hell yeah.
I like your collection too. What do you got there?
I mean, this is like my signed memorabilia and my stuff, like my
hell yeah,
my #1 on Billboard Dance.
Yeah.
Alex Clare Too Close, because I helped get that in a commercial, and he sent me that. U2 Unforgettable Fire, and Bono crossed it out and put Blake instead of Fire.
Cool.
Quincy Jones, and then 311, the band, them signed that for me, their plaque.
Cool. I remember that Alex Clare record. That was a great one.
Thanks, man. I didn't do anything with the record, but he was dropped, and I was a super fan of that song and his album, and I mentioned to my friend who was directing the first Microsoft Surface ad, because he had a not a good song in, and I was like, yo, I got to give you the song, and this is gonna like elevate this ad. And I played the whole album for him. I like sat him down in front of these nice speakers.
Yeah.
Like, I got to get the license for that song. And I was like, and then it happened, and then he went triple platinum, which was crazy. So
yeah, I distinctly remember that. That song was like an advert song, and then it became like a thing.
Yeah, well, no, people don't realize it's Diplo. You know what I mean? It's like,
really, I didn't know that.
Diplo and Twitch together, they produced that whole entire.
Awesome.
I think it's Switch or Twitch. I don't remember, honestly. But yeah, his story is crazy, and he just came out with a new song. His voice is awesome. I was just in love with the album.
Check out his newer material. It's been a minute since I've.
And now you got like Imagine Dragons were like the biggest freaking band out there. They basically stole that style of
the sound, right? Yeah, the electronic meets
that sound was his, you know.
Right, whatever you want to call that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, I gotta get hip to his new material. I gotta get hip to you guys' new material. What's on the horizon?
I'm finishing up compositing the music video for Afterglow. It's been a long time coming, but I'm collaborating with someone who's in Egypt right now.
Nice.
So it's been really tough to communicate, but really rewarding. And I hired the main like dancer contortionist of Beatles Love here for Cirque du Soleil.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I've always wanted to see that show.
It's so good. I mean, if you're a Beatles fan, you got when you come to Vegas, we'll go, you know,
definitely.
Let's go. I've seen it like 4 times.
Yeah. The last time I was there, I was trying to catch it, but we were just in and out for that show with Matt Lang.
Yeah. Dope. But yeah, so, and this amazing compositor, Gamil, who does all this like cool aquatic life in the sky. I follow tons of like just Instagram artists. I used to I got off of social media for a second, and surprise, I'm back on. I'm talking to someone on Instagram.
Here we are.
But during the pandemic, I kind of like reset, but all of my mission is just to like just follow artists. You know, that's it.
I think pandemic. You know, there's a silver lining in that it really made people reconsider like what they were doing. Like for me, it really made me take a step back from like the grind and really focus on like what mattered in like art and family life and, you know, all sorts of things. So it's cool.
It definitely gives you a different perspective on like what you love, like what you want to do, like what you can do.
Right.
Especially like being a creative, like, okay, cool. I can't, for me, like it killed me because I'm like a performer and an freestyler that like wants to be in front of an audience and, you know, really make that kinetic energy. And
totally.
I haven't figured out a way to do that on social media. Like I don't have a Twitch thing. I was thinking about that, but I was late to the game because I was in Seattle with none of my gear because everything was in a storage unit here.
Right. You're in the middle of moving or whatever. Yeah.
I was in the middle of moving states when the pandemic hit. So I was just like dying during the pandemic.
Yeah, man, you're preaching to the choir. I had, I don't know if you're familiar with Anjuna Beats. I guess you would be as a Matt Lang collaborator. But I had my debut and another record on Anjuna, and then I had an EP on Mousetrap that I was going to tour that year. Like I had like this whole lineup of shows ready to go and stuff, and it just got completely destroyed. So I'm right there with you with like that killed the momentum of the live world for me.
Yeah, but you're going out and you're playing shows every weekend now, right?
I not every weekend, but yeah, definitely coming back around to where I was doing it in 2019. So that's good. If anything, I think it helped me like readjust my priorities a bit, you know.
For sure.
It's awesome.
We out here trying to make it happen.
Yeah, for sure. You and
Oh,
I, or well, you, me, and Kevin even we should work on some original material, I think.
yeah. I mean, we're so down. We're so open for collaboration and like,
Yeah,
we're still working on our sound. Like we're just putting this stuff out that like we've already made, but like we're brand new. You know what I mean? So we're
totally.
we're trying to go a little more dance. Like that's what I wanted at the beginning. Like basically highlight Kevin's amazing like drumming and programming, and
Yeah,
like have really fun. I don't know. I was thinking like almost like poolside or like you're like you're escaping. You know what I mean? But I
right.
also write a lot of complex stuff, and a lot of dance music is very simple. So Kevin,
Yeah.
come on, restrain. You know what I mean? How many tracks can we have? You know?
Right. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the thing that's scary and inspiring simultaneously about dance music is that you have this unlimited canvas. So it's very easy to like go way overboard with too many things if you're not like anchoring yourself to like traditional music.
Right.
But it's also inspiring because you have that unlimited creative freedom to do whatever you want. So yeah, I'm also we discussed earlier, a music teacher. So I always impose on students like, just because you have 100 channels, you don't need to record 100 things, you know?
Exactly. And I mean, like just going back to just better songwriting, like less is more,
Yep.
like always, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys have the Afterglow official video coming out. Do you know when that is?
No, it's so close. Like 95% done. Just waiting for like a couple edits back, and then it's done. So I'm just waiting. I'm waiting to get that back, and I'm really excited about it. It looks great. We shot it here at
Okay.
Valley of Fire, and which is, if you're ever in Vegas, people go to Valley of Fire for a hike. It's like you're on Mars. It's crazy.
I would love to. It sounds like a good experience the next time I'm over there.
Heck yeah, come back. I hope to come back. I hope Kevin and I come to LA to play a show, in the next couple months. So, we really want to do that with our
Yeah,
next single drop, which will probably be in like 2 months. And, just that cycle, like
hmm,
make a song, make a video, get artwork, all that.
totally. Yeah,
I
I'm
have all,
dealing with that right now with you know the record "Sophie Needs a Ladder," the Dead Mouse song.
yeah.
Yeah, her and I are working on this package right now of like a music video and a behind the scenes video and essentially everything we did for Afterglow. Um, and that's probably going to be my next release, probably sometime in May.
Oh,
So yeah,
great. She and I played a show together at the Whiskey a
I
long
think she had mentioned that you guys had connected at one point.
time, for sure.
She's an awesome talent too,
She really,
definitely. Yeah,
yeah, love hearing the family. Like,
it's
like
crazy how small the world is. You know.
it really is, and it used to be really small in the electronic world. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, like 2000. Like, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, the fact that all the connections I've made over the years are like, they're like people out there still crushing. And
yeah.
it says a lot for like the power of community and how much people love to move their body and listen to amazing, something to be said, and you
Yeah,
know like Sasha and Digweed still got jobs, and Carl Cox and
totally. Yeah.
legends, and BT still like being a revolutionary, doing like the craziest things,
I
and
think it's because electronic music is rooted in like the music, you know. It's like pop might be like not that there's anything wrong with pop, but it's like sometimes it's very based on a person or like very like focused on like what's popular now. Whereas electronic music is very like rooted in the experience, I think. So
yeah,
like
rooted in the experience and like music made by one person, you know, maybe two, like a singer,
right,
but like it's instrumental, mainly instrumental music, that people don't have to like, there's no like presumption to it. It's not
right.
or anything. And a lot of pop music is like presumptuous and, like,
Also, it's very dynamic based on what's popular. Like one song from the biggest pop star will sound different in 5 years from what they're writing now because it's derivative of what's popular in the underground, I think, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's just amazing that like the staying power of like certain songs too from
Oh yeah.
25 years ago, and you hear it now and it's like timeless to me. Like I was
Yeah.
going through a vinyl collection of like, you know, some breaks and like trance and like house, and I was just like, these just like literally could like you could play an old school set and people would go crazy, you know,
Hmm.
which is awesome, you know. And
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
most of it's just instrumental music, you know, and you know, stems from like some classical music to like jazz and like all these
A
different
great song is a great song, you know?
yeah.
That's
And
what it all boils down to.
this how I that's what I tell people when I'm teaching kids too. I'm like, there's not a bad context to like get your idea out there. Like
Right.
all great music. Yeah, you might not like a song by someone. You might not like metal, but then you could hear like one metal song that like changes your whole world, you know, or
Right. Yeah. I
down.
hate trying to declare like I don't like this genre because you never know. Like I could run across a song tomorrow that I'll really fall in love with, and it really changes your perspective, I think.
Who's like getting you like stoked lately? Like
Ooh, lately, um, a good friend of mine, Eddie, is really talented. I've been doing a lot of old digging, to be honest. Really obsessed with the Beatles recently.
nice.
Um, I don't know how big of a fan you are, but if you've seen the Get Back documentary, it's really awesome.
Oh yeah, I binged that really quickly. I got high and watched that. Like I was like
It's
8 hours. I mean, I watched first
yeah,
first one night and then the second to the next night. And
yeah, something really magical about watching like these pioneers of the craft, like just writing their classics, you know. So
yeah, for sure. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, that and the one with Rick Rubin and
yep,
was it
and
like
Paul,
three two
yeah,
one McCartney or whatever it was called. That one blew my mind about like because I listened to Rick's podcast, which is amazing, Broken Record,
uh,
and it was almost like just kind of even more intimate because you got Paul like rocking gear, and it was the black and white. I was just like, yes, this is like well done.
yeah, yeah, man, and it's so interesting to see like musicians from different eras but equally respected in their crafts like really talk about music, you know. I was so interesting.
What's the man? You got a lot of people are coming into these chats. What up?
Yeah,
Um, yeah. So I there's yeah I go on these kicks. Like I don't listen to the Beatles all the time, but like
right.
like I'll listen to them for like a month straight.
That's
You
kind of how I
know,
feel
I
too.
out like when I was in high school, I listened to them all the time. You know, and
I go through phases of like discovering an artist, or well, in the sake of the Beatles, it's like rediscovering a piece of work that they've done. But really, it's like discovering an artist, going through their entire catalog for like a 2 month span, and then like moving on to the next one. I really love doing that.
mhm, for sure. For
Yeah,
listening to you know, I really I'm not a fan of like uh listening to one song by an artist. I'm a huge fan of listening to albums just because I
right.
still buy vinyl and listen. I just like I came up on a Robin Williams and Steve Martin vinyl the other day, and I just laughed my ass off. You know what I mean? And this stuff's from like 40 years ago.
So
Yeah,
cool, you know. Yeah, I that's one thing I don't love about like the direction music is going, where the songs are more serialized and it's more about like the vibe the song is giving you or like how it fits in a playlist than like the actual body of work by the artist, you know.
right. Well,
um,
unfortunately, Spotify f that up for everyone by having it become a numbers game.
right.
That sucks. And everyone's like, promote Spotify. I'm like, they're like the devil. But
Yeah,
like,
literally.
we put all our music out on every single platform. I'm not gonna like not put my stuff up there, but unfortunately, they changed the game. So now everyone's producing to get numbers, not producing or creating to make a good song. you know.
I think that even falls into the even bigger picture of like album rollouts, or like how you approach how you release your body of work. Like you don't release an album anymore, you release 10 singles, you know?
It's tough to like put an album out there. I mean, especially for us, we're like, yeah, I have fans as Blake, KJ has fans as KJ. Even the algorithms of playlisting for that, it's like our fan bases don't mesh together, even though we have our names attached to the private language. This was like a battle for us trying to figure out
Right.
how to put our name out there and have people come listen to it. Because also my voice's format shifted. So my fans are like, it sounds like your music, but it doesn't sound like you. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Another like wrench in the freaking machine. I'm throwing,
Right.
you know, and so it's tough out there for anyone trying to release new music, but you know, you can't give up hope. If you're passionate about it, then it doesn't matter. You're doing it for yourself and for others, obviously, but I have to do it. Like it's innate in my character design. I got to make music. I got to play music. I got to be on stage.
Me too. Yeah.
But man, the game is rigged for sure, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the most successful artists are the ones that don't play the game. You know, they're just trying to do their own thing, and then people can really see through that, and they can tell the authenticity of like, they want to write this type of song, they do it. They write this type of song, they do it. And you gain real appreciation from fans that way, I think. And that's something that you guys are doing, you know, like
That was
the
like,
the stuff you guys are putting out in your private language, I wouldn't have expected from either of your projects, but like the fact that you're doing it shows the authenticity, I think, of your musicality.
I wanted to do something like totally different for years. Kevin and I started a project called Orchestral Drive-By, and I mean, I spearhead it all. Like I have the ideas, I got the vision, and Kevin just loves doing it. You know what I mean? And we're home.
Yeah.
He has his vision for it too. And it's great because we're so yin and yang. We balance each other out. Like, you know, that's why we're great friends. You know what I mean? We balance each other out. He's like I wouldn't say atypical, but like what's left side? Left side is like
left brain, right brain kind of thing.
Like he's like really well balanced, and his work ethic is crazy. Like he works so hard, and he's very organized. And I'm not. I'm just like, I'm gonna go here and play. Try and write a song. I'm but he's like diligent, you know, like militant almost about it. Like, and he's got that because that's how his brain works, you know. And I think
Kev and I have a very similar, like, cut from the same cloth. Like I'm very diligent, very hyper organized as well.
Yeah. I wish I was. I'm trying to. We're both actually trying to do that for this project too, and get better about how diligent with everything. You know what I mean? Yeah. We're putting our all into it. But like you were saying earlier, like that's how it started. Was like I need, like, everyone's wanted to put me in a box, and I've like just like saying no bad context. But my last album, I was like, oh, I'm making it like more croony, more like jazzy, more like hip hop beats with no synths on it. So like I need an outlet for synths. So I just started making all these songs, and I never played a bass before. So I was like, I'm gonna learn how to slap bass and make funky bass, you know.
Cool.
Funk. I was like, maybe I'll make funky house or something, because I love funky house. I lived with DJ Dan for a year. I was like capital, you know, of the world.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I love a good bass line, and, you know, real plain. And I was like, finally, Kevin, we're together. We can like get like a group, because it was going to be like a band. It was like we had a bass player at the time, and funny enough, he like moved to Vegas, but he got married and has 2 kids, and got, you know, he's doing his own thing.
Yeah.
It's going to be like a 3-piece, because I was like, I've always wanted to be Sting. Like I've always wanted to be like a mixture of like Duran Duran pop, but like dope vocals and like great bass playing.
Right.
You know, and then, but like also electronic, you know? So like originally I was like, ooh, I'm going to be like Bonobo meets Duran Duran. You know what I mean? Like, how can I make that sound?
How can you make that? Right.
That doesn't mix together. So that's kind of what happened, you know? Like we released our poppiest song, which is like Cali Girls, which we love it, you know what I mean? But it's
Mhm.
like completely different than Afterglow, you know what I mean? After
Right.
a poem about, you know, letting go and you know, making
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that.
the earth, you know?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about like the subject matter and like what inspired the actual original song because I fell in love with the vocal. That's what inspired me to do the remix. But how did you guys come across that?
I was in New York. It was like I was with a buddy. We just started like making beats. Aaron Beaumont, he's amazing. Do you remember like Auto Tune the News? Like
Yeah, hell yeah.
he's the guy behind that with the Gregory brothers. He produces all the
That's
music.
so funny. I used to watch that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a badass producer. And we were working on my album, and I just, you know, my favorite beat to beatbox is it's like more like two-step garage. Like
Yeah.
if I could just make beats like that all day, then I'd have that album. You know what I mean?
Right.
Started with beatbox, and then the bass line I was singing, and then I played. You know,
Right.
and kind of we just like worked on a beat for like 2 hours. It has like a that song had like a it was like 6.5 minutes. We had like a full B, like a C section that sounded like "In Your Eyes" by Peter Gabriel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Took you out of the song though. Like it would be cool live, you know.
Right.
But
A little too foreign from the rest of it for like a streaming version.
right, yeah. So we scrapped it, and then you know, like a year later, I wrote the lyrics with Aaron. I went back to New York after Kevin and I had like produced the shizzle out of it, and went to, you know, just hung out. Like Aaron and I write songs super slow. I mean, I think some of it was over Zoom. This was during the pandemic. And I just like immediately was like envisioning my time at Burning Man and Standing Rock, and just like, you know, something that's bigger than me poetically. Like I'm not a conservationist, but like I try and do my part by helping when I can. And
Right.
that's kind of what this song is a little bit about. Like I love aquatic life. I've swam with whales and sharks and dolphins, and I was just had this visual of the desert and aquatic life above it, and just like, I don't know, kind of like, let's do our part, but at the same time enjoy dancing. And that's what I got from Burning Man, was like
Yeah.
everyone's just, whether they're on drugs or not, and it was just such a almost a spiritual moment I had.
And that's where you derive the lyrics, like the poetry that the
Yeah,
song really is. Yeah.
yeah. It's just a poem. It's a poem about our Earth, basically. You know,
It's beautiful. Yeah.
and it turned into a song.
And then I made it into the the dark fire version.
Yes, dude, you crushed it, man. I love it because one of my favorite artists in the last decade is Washed Out, and for some, it reminded me of Washed Out a little bit. I think it's just like an almost like never-ending story too, because it do 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 do
Yeah.
do 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 do. Yeah, I love that. I don't know what with those fifths. I don't. Anyway, that progression always has this like nostalgic '80s vibe for me,
Absolutely.
and so I loved it. When I got the mix back from you, I was like, I like cranked my studio speaker. I listened to it 10 times in a row, and then I went in the car, and I was like, yeah, boy. It was tough.
Yeah, thanks, man. Like, yeah, that like '80s production melodic style is totally like a staple of what I do for sure. It makes its way into everything.
I love it,
Ah,
man.
so satisfying.
You made the vocals sound good. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing like getting a remix and it's just like trash. And I was on Tommy Boy Records. I got a lot of really bad remixes that they wanted to put out, and I was like, no. This
Yeah,
song,
man. I
like,
totally get you there. Have you ever done a remix competition?
yes, and that's like definitely where a lot are just like, ooh, too? Like
I did one a few years ago for my debut on Mousetrap, Dead Mouse's label. We did a remix competition on the lead single, and we got like 500 responses. So it took me like weeks to get through them, and I would say probably 90% are not good at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was some that were just so good. It's like, how do you narrow this down to a winner? You know?
Right. It's like a really like black and white. It's like no gray. There's not like mediocre.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Good. You know what I mean? And I'm, yeah.
If you know what you're doing, you know what you're doing. And if you don't, you just don't, you know?
Like, ooh, I like Dead Mouse. Let me get GarageBand and.
Right. Yeah.
I love
Which
this.
I think, I mean, is a beautiful thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I love that. It's just like knowing when to submit or when you're ready to, you know?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I'm hoping, you know, but there's nothing like, you know, I love that. Like 500, that's like 500 people created something that, you know, was using your stuff as a tool to like get inspo.
Yeah.
Off. You know, to them, it could be the best thing in the world, unfortunately.
To me, it's just, you know, like if it inspired them and if they enjoyed doing it, that's what matters to me, you know?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I had a couple of those when I was on Tommy Boy, and oh man, they even put some out that I was just like, wow.
Oh, they put them out too.
Yeah, not like terrible ones, but still like by professional like producers that, and I was like, why is there 10 remixes? My song isn't that big to have 10 remixes. Like, let's get 3, you know, for this, and this. I mean, that's like every record label is like, we need this kind of this and this. And then they go after people to remix, you know. But man, oh boy.
I'm glad Kevin hit me up. Like,
me too.
Black Hole's an awesome label. I was actually going to ask you, how did you guys initially connect on that front?
Funny enough, from a remix. I've known Arnie, for 14 years maybe, head of Black Hole through BT, and we met. And Kevin, I think Kevin might have met too, actually, because we played. It's funny enough at Ultra.
Mm-hmm.
I played 14 years ago with BT. I sang Never Gonna Come Back Down, and Kevin played drums. We were kind of like the unofficial backing band for Brian for Ultra.
Right.
Although I didn't do anything but sing one song. Me, Christian Burns, Kevin, and Jess. And yeah, we all did our part at that show, and it was super fun. I mean, it was like 50,000 people, and I actually have an amazing blown up picture of the crowd of me, like just
that's awesome.
You know, from the crowd, and so yeah, we linked there. But then during the pandemic, the one track that Kevin and I did was a remix for Brian the War, and it's like, you know, a drum and bass melodic kind of, you know, well, it sounds like a band, you know. I'm playing the guitar, I'm playing the bass, synths, and we totally flipped it. Like, I was like, ooh, because
right.
I was like, Kevin, email Brian right now, like, we should get the stems for the war and do like a D&B thing. So we sent it, and it was the biggest, you know, numbers on the label for that song, for that remix, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
that felt good. And Arnie just like casually was like, hey, if you have any original music, send it my way. And I was like, here's a sound link of songs that are done. You know? Right. And I just, with my lawyer, went the old fashioned way, which like, I don't think any single person responded, but like I made 20, you know, EPKs and sent them officially, you know, through the mail to.
Oh, you actually sent a physical EPK. That's awesome.
Yeah. Physical EPK, and, you know, with the mission statement, all the press pictures, all the things. And my lawyer's like, we're not probably going to, I'm happy to help you with this, but we're not going to get a single response. And we didn't.
That's still awesome though. It's a cool story. Like I really value the physicality of doing that. Like I send in digital EPKs and stuff, but with my label and my collective Gradient, I don't know if you're familiar, but we do a CD for every release still.
Oh, awesome.
Just because I value going back to our previous conversation, like the difference of having a body of work and having it like well thought out, and like the artistic weight that it carries, you know, something really awesome about having something printed out, I think. So I don't think you're too far off with the physical EPK thing. That's cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's still like a tangibility to that, you know, and
exactly.
I mean, I can't wait to like do a vinyl and actually have that. I mean, because I'm such a fan, and I still think it's a cool thing to collect for people.
Have you ever had your material on vinyl before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have 2 of my albums. The one I did with Matt.
Nice, cool.
The one that I produced myself called Wanderlust Unknown, and that came out right when the pandemic hit.
Gotcha.
Basically February 2020.
I think I had a few tracks come out on like compilation albums, but I've never had like an album of my own. Well, I've never had an album of my own first and foremost, but I've never had an album of my own released on vinyl. So,
right.
Yeah,
I love it. I'm ready. I'm like, I kind of want us to like. We've only released 4 songs, and only 3 of those original. But I'm still like, let's just release the album. But the label's like, no, singles, because that's how it is nowadays, you know. So until
I think an album, it takes a bit of prep too. Like you really have to build up to that if you're going to do an LP.
Yeah, for sure. You know, so we agree. But I'm like, okay, we need to turn out some new tunes, and we did. I just finished writing another song that's kind of like a liquid drum and bass, almost pendulum kind of vibe. Actually.
Cool. I'm looking forward to hearing that because that's some of my favorite stuff from Kevin.
Sweet. Yeah, I mean, that's where he excels, but we're not trying to be like obviously a drum and bass band, because like
he's got that.
Right. Got that, but the songs that I first penned don't fit in that, you know what I mean? They're like stony, like chill beach vibes. You know, we have one that's called Vacation Hideaway that I love, and it's kind of Odessa-esque, but like on a reggae tip, but not reggae. You know what I mean? It just sounds like island music, you know? So
love that.
And then we got some lo-fi funk, you know what I mean? And like, but it's hard to like put things into like boxes, you know what I mean? And especially because like we have so many different songs, because like I said, like the no context thing is like, what is the private language? It's just like a hodgepodge of music and celebrating that, you know?
I honestly love that, though. I mean, I feel like some of the most iconic artists in history are the ones that don't really land in a genre per se. It's more of like a project by project or like album by album thing, where whatever inspires them at the moment is what they put out, you know, and that it gives you an insight into who they are, I think.
Definitely. There's no right.
You're breaking up a bit there. What's that?
I said that's just that's kind of us in a nutshell. Like there's no rhyme or reason. Trying to just make things as we go, and if we like it, then we'll put it out. You know, I will get there when we'll like. I feel like we have a sound, and it will probably condense and get. The more we go at it, you know, it's gonna be like, oh, that's really their sound right there, and like, you know, because out there that I'm like, I hear they're new, and I'm like, y'all have like. They have like an album out already and everything's super cohesive, you know, and I'm just like, how y'all do that?
Yeah, it's hard to stick an album out early on. So
yeah, for sure. Well, dude, so good. Glad I caught you on here.
You too, man. It's a pleasure to catch you.
Sure, man. Good chatting.
Great chatting. I guess everybody go stream the remix and the original song.
Hell yeah. And have a wonderful weekend.
Yep, you have a good one too, man.
Yeah, dude. Have good shows when you're playing, and hit me back in LV.
Whenever you and Kev are back in LV, let's make a thing out of it.
All right.
I'll come out.
All right.
All right. Good to see you, man. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.